Hi guys, welcome to the next episode of Quant Foundry. Today we're going to take a look at one of the most useful features within Tableau. They're called quick filters. Quick filters are used to either pass dimensional, quantitative metrics or any type of time series metric in and filter through whatever is being visualized on your dashboard or visualization for that matter. So what I have pulled up here is a simple map I built using the Salesforce dataset. Again, I've linked it in the past, but in the description of this video, you can find the Google Drive link where you can download this dataset to work with and follow along on your own. I went ahead and built out this quick filter here, or it's acting we're passing regional filters onto this map. So we've got a geographic distribution of revenue at the state level. What I built here is a quick filter so that we can toggle between regions. So if we were interested in zooming in, and this will have implications when we start combining multiple data visualizations into a holistic dashboard. But for now, we just want to look at honing in on a specific region. So let's go ahead and click on the Southeast. We select that, and you see how our data visualization zooms into the southeast of the United States. Same will be true for Mid-Atlantic. And then we can reset to all. So this is really straightforward to build. This was one of the first features I learned how to do in Tableau when I started using it 10 years ago. It's been an incredible, it's actually probably one of the most commonly used functions across any data visualization. So let's go ahead and duplicate this view, and I'll show you step by step how to build this. So go ahead and create a new worksheet by clicking on this icon down in the bottom left. And the way we do this is we're going to go ahead and bring in the state dimension. That's going to give us our anchor points so that Tableau will populate a circle or in every state we are showing data for. Now let's go ahead and build a filled map. We're going to select this red filled map here in the center. Okay. Go ahead and close the Show Me palette. And let's go ahead and color by revenue. So double click on revenue and we get a geographic distribution of revenue at the state level. So just looking at this really quickly, we're able to see that the Southeast is driving the bulk of our revenue here in Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina. And then in the Northwest, we see Washington State driving a good chunk as well. And down here, Arizona's the leader in the Southwest. So to create quick filters, this filter shelf right here, we're going to go ahead and drag our region dimension onto the filter shelf. Release, we'll get this dialog pop-up box. So one thing I want to show you is Tableau populates and displays every dimension that falls within the region data type. So we're looking at just for Mid-Atlantic, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest. We're going to go ahead and hit all to select all and go ahead and hit OK. Okay. So let's go ahead and right click on the region pillbox and go to Show Filter. So we get this pop-up here on the right. It's a wireframe. I do not recommend you leaving your quick filters in this format. It's not very user-friendly and it will quickly make a dashboard very messy. So what I'm going to do to change the format is if you go to the top right corner, this drop-down arrow, if we click that, in this view right here, we have 3, 6, 7 different format options for how we want to visualize our filter. We've got the name here on the left, and over here on the right, we get a visual representation of what it will look like. The most commonly used ones and most useful ones, in my opinion and experience, single value list is best for when you have dealing with a filter type that's filtering on highly aggregated data. So this region example would be a good use case for this. There are only 4 regions within this data. We get 4 radio buttons as our filter options. Single value drop down, this creates a pick list basically where you select what looks like a search bar, but it populates in a drop-down menu of different dimensional options that you can filter on. Sliders are typically good for when you want to filter on month or year and create a linear narrative that you're filtering on. So if you want to show the story of revenue over 2019, it'll be a linear filter starting with January, working your way all the way to December of 2019. Multiple value list. This is good if you've got a large, actually, multiple value lists I don't really use. This is the one I'm telling you to avoid. Multiple values drop down. This is more commonly used. It's similar to the pick list single value drop down, but you're able to select multiple values instead of a single one. Multiple values custom list. I don't really mess with this at all. I find most of my filtering needs are addressed by one of these. And wildcard match, where the user can type in and search for a specific value. Let's go ahead and just look at the single value list. This gives us a radio button dialog that we can toggle between. So Mid-Atlantic, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest, and we can reset to all. Let's take a look at our pick list for a single value dropdown. So see how it's all nicely packaged? This is really good for mid-aggregation data types and even more granular data types. When you want to have, let's say we had 50 different regions in here, this will enable you to roll it all up into one bar. So same deal, we hit Southeast, we get the filter, and it rolls back up to your pick list. Southwest, and it rolls back up to your pick list, and reset to all. I'm going to go ahead, actually let's go ahead and take a look at the wildcard match. This is good for hyper granular data, so things like product ID, client ID, product name, things that are going to have hundreds to thousands of different values within them. For region, let's go ahead, and what's happening here is it enables the user to click into the search bar, and let's look at Northwest. And then when we hit enter, it's going to be matching, it's going to be filtering our data based on regular expressions, or regex, what we typed in. So go ahead, enter. Oh, there's a space in Northwest, it looks like. That is the other thing. I believe it is, it won't look at alternate spellings, so what you do enter in here has to be spelled precisely. This is good for like Salesforce IDs or client IDs that you're copying from a known list. So we are filtering on Northwest right now. We're in Montana, Idaho, and Oregon. Looks good. Let's go ahead and clear out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call this GeoMap 2. And I want to show one more use case for filters. So when dealing with month types, so if you're following along, I've already converted this data type over into, or changed this data type over into a date. If you're following along, most likely this data type will be showing up as a string. You're going to need to change the data type to a date. And then you can get confirmation when you see that it's populating a calendar icon here to the left. So time filters are really helpful as well. So I'm going to go ahead, Tableau's rolling this up, our month field up to the highest level of aggregation, which is year. I'm going to disaggregate it into the month view. So now we have hash marks across all 12 months of this time series. There is no date, year specified in this time series, so Tableau is defaulting to 1900 as the value, which can be cleaned up with formatting, but we're not worried about that at the moment. Let's go ahead and keep this simple. Let's go ahead and double click on revenue, and we have a nice single time series showing revenue over the last 12 months. Now, if you remember from our time series class or episode, when you right click on the month pillbox, you'll see two different time series options here. This top one is for discrete time, which we'll get into in future more advanced lessons. But the majority of the time, you're going to want to select this second view for time. This is continuous time series. So month, we can roll up into a quarter. So we got a quarterly view of revenue. It looks like revenue was pretty much flat for the year until Q3, until the end of Q3, and we spiked up to 44.7 million in Q4. Now, let's say we were interested in what was going on in between Q3 and Q4. So basically the last month of Q3 and the first 2 months of Q4, and see what was ramping up in here. So what we can do now is let's go ahead and change back to our monthly view. One way you can do it is manually do it like this. If we want to look at, let's say, September through the end of the year, that's a 4-month period. That's fine, we can do that. But if you want to isolate something to call it out to an executive or a manager, time filters are a good way to do that. So again, we're going to take month and drag it under filters, let release, and we're going to filter on months and hit next. And let's say we're going to go ahead and select Q4. So that's September, October, that's going to be October, November, and December. And we're going to include August and September, the last 2 months of Q3, just so we can get 5 months and kind of look at the month over month ramp up in revenue. Hit OK. And this shows our ramp up and eventual peak of revenue in December. This isn't super useful at the moment from a business standpoint, because in future lessons what we'll do is we can add on additional cuts of data through different types of visualizations and use this as an anchor point to dig into exactly what helped drive this increase in revenue. Okay, hope that was helpful. Quick filters, incredibly valuable, super helpful to learn, and you're going to use them pretty frequently in Tableau. All right, hope that was helpful.